This is a podcast or something like that. Hello, and welcome to the Verbal Journal Podcast, episode 54. Sorry for my tone. I'm in sort of a bad mood because I just got out of a meeting with the head of Verbal Journal Podcast Productions.org, and I was roundly criticized. I was chastised. I was victimized. I was therapized a little bit. There was like some analysis going on actually, and I was philosophized. And this all goes back to one particular quote unquote infraction, and I know they're listening to this, so I have to be a little bit careful. Use some coded language. Let me have a sip of coffee. And it was not about the coffee sips. It was not about the coffee sips. Before you ask, no, it was not about the coffee sips. They were fine with the coffee sips. Hold on, my neighbor's hitting a trash can. Hold on. Okay. I just closed my window a little bit more firmly, if I might put it that way. Wasn't about the coffee sips, wasn't about the neighbor hits, was basically about one particular quote-unquote infraction. And the quote-unquote part is in quotes as well. So that's what they said. I'm quoting them when I say quote-unquote infraction. They said quote-unquote infraction. It wasn't in the normal way people say quote-unquote. Usually they're, kind of throwing into question the term being used when they use that expression. I think the president of VJPP.org was sort of implying quote unquote, or sort of saying quote unquote in the way of like it actually is an infraction, and that's the word I'm using, so quote unquote sort of to emphasize. He doesn't really understand how his name's Thomas Featherbottom, no relation, but he doesn't really understand. He sort of makes up his own stuff with the English language. He originally spoke multiple other languages growing up, and so he just likes to kind of use English as a little bit of a playground, is how he puts it. So he said quote unquote infraction. Let me tell you what that infraction is as we come up here on the, what is this? On the like almost 3 minutes I've probably been talking, and I haven't even gotten to the point. It's kind of hard to talk about, okay? It's kind of hard to talk about. Maybe I'm stalling, okay? Maybe I'm stalling because it's kind of painful. And I just don't even know how to use the words to describe the situation that I find myself within, So let's consider that for a second. Well, here's what happened. Here's what my infraction was. Okay, here's what I did wrong and what I was roundly philosophized for. Okay, it goes back to the sports desk segment. Okay, the sports desk segment. Were you listening last week? Do you remember the sports desk segment? This has been a segment for quite a while, frankly. I've been talking about sports for quite a while, but it's been more and more formalized into a segment. Well, guess what? Sports Desk was canceled. Okay? And this isn't even a joke. I joke around a lot. Sports Desk was canceled on the Verbal Journal podcast. Apparently, there was something wrong with the way I was conducting myself. That they had a problem with me not knowing which stories were part of that Sports Desk segment. That was one big criticism, that I apparently wasn't even sure with the final story whether it was or was not a part of the Sports Desk segment, and I do take accountability for that, and I did. But basically they canceled the Sports Desk segment. They told me, don't even think about it. They said you're ordered to not discuss sports. You have no ability to discuss sports. Your very small number of listeners have no interest in sports. You've been getting letters, begging you to stop talking about sports. And if you talk about sports again, you're fired. That was sort of the refrain, the common refrain in this meeting that I'm just stepping out of. The common refrain was if you talk about sports again, or if you discuss sports again, I believe it was phrased, you are fired. If you discuss sports again, you are fired. It was literally a refrain. If you discuss sports again, you are fired. If you discuss sports again, you are fired. If you discuss sports. It had a whole. The president here is definitely an eccentric. So that's how he was expressing himself. But I will say the point got across. So there will be no discussion of sports, and I'm sorry. Okay, and I'm sorry about the whole sports situation. There will be no more of that. Okay, let's just talk about some general news. Okay, how about we just talk about some general news? Fuck. Okay, this is just general news. Okay? Headline. Well, I won't read the headlines. I'll just talk about the stories. Okay, because the headline. Okay, the story is that a large organization has been put into a situation where they're questioning how they coordinate one of their large events of the year due to an experience in the last week of poor success and limited viewership of that fairly main event. How do I want to put this? That's basically that. That's basically the first story. I think that's the first story. So, okay, well, second story, and this is just general news. This is just general news across the spectrum of, events going on, all type of news. So, second story is about how individuals who are part of an organization, a different organization, individuals who are part of an organization, it's a different one from the first story, but individuals who are part of that will have the chance to opt in or opt out of a new project at that organization taking place in video game form. So there will be there's a new video game coming out related to this organization or sort of representing it, and then the real life individuals who are part of this organization, get to decide whether they want to be in the video game or not, and then they would get a small amount of compensation. It says people who opt in to have their name, image, and likeness appear will eventually receive $600 plus a copy of the game that's typically valued at $70. Which I don't think is a great deal, but you won't be able to make that call because, we won't get into some of the specifics right now. But anyways, next story on this just general news sort of update, general news here. What's this next story? Okay, this next story. Okay, this is good. Oh, you're going to love this. Okay, so this is great. Totally different organization. So here, there's an organization where they are getting started with a new sort of a new rendition of the work they do as an organization, a new year of work, and the individuals who are employed by the organization and who take part in the events that the organization puts on are sort of complaining about some of the changes that have taken place in getting ready for this new year of that organization's actions taking place. So basically I just find that, very fun. And yeah, the individuals are saying that some of the clothing that they wear as a part of their functioning in the organization are actually see-through, which is a unintentional error. Some of the pants apparently are see-through that the individuals play when they take part in the events organized by the organization. Let's see if there's any good quotes here. Because the fabric is lighter, Clark said it's a, quote, challenge to have bigger numbers and letters. Hence complaints that the back of the... we'll just stop there. Yeah, we'll just stop there. But hence the complaints that the clothing looks, quote, Amorish, according to more than one individual. So that's a funny story. And next up and last up on the just general news segment, I think we're exhausting all the different subjects you can sort of talk about here with news. This one's about a totally different organization. It's about one individual, part of that organization, being suspended from their work for that organization for 15 months as a part of a corruption investigation. Apparently, they were betting on events taking place within that organization. And so yeah, okay, so that's interesting as far as general news. I hope we had a good time, and I hope, I showed that I could talk about general news as well as, in the past. I know I've talked about, a variety of things, sports and so on, but, I get it. Yeah, I get it. We're trying to branch out. We're trying to talk about different stuff, so I'm glad I could do that, and I hope we all, just enjoyed that sort of general survey. Lots more to talk about today on the VJP. So one cool thing is I am trying to watch more movies, and I watched Rushmore. I finally saw Rushmore. I had never seen Rushmore. I don't know if you've seen Rushmore, the Wes Anderson movie, older movie, came out in 1998. It was very interesting to finally watch it. I've seen a few other Wes Andersons. I think I saw the Royal Tenenbaums. I thought it was good. Rushmore was interesting. Hold on. Let me have some water. I was glad I watched it. I watched it with friends for like a movie night. And I have to say, it was kind of a really messed up movie. Like, it was the type of thing my video essay brain was going wild. And I was like, this is weird. I want to talk about this. Not that I'm going to make a video essay, but I was just talking with my friends and I was like feeling that part of my brain be activated. I was like, I don't know, and my friends agreed, but we had some like really interesting discussion. We had like some different gender perspectives watching it. And me and my friend, who's also a man, were like talking about how the men in the movie were seemingly rewarded for the worst behaviors and how kind of gross it felt to watch. But then our friend who is a woman was like, oh, it's almost like I didn't even notice that because it feels so normal, especially for women to be for situations to be played out where women are. I wonder if it's kind of weird how I change tone so much on this podcast. Anyways, but for situations to play out where women are, treated poorly by men and then sort of like continually maybe pressured or bothered by that man. And like, it's almost like not desensitized, maybe is too strong of a word, but we were just talking about how different our reactions were to the same sort of like weird, I guess, kind of fucked up situations based on our current moment-to-moment degree of sensitivity to that type of thing. Because, spoiler alert, obviously, if you haven't seen Rushmore. It's like, it's weird. There are these two it's a love triangle, basically, and enormous age gaps within the love triangle. And it's not really a viable love triangle because one of the people is a minor. And it's just kind of fucking not really treated in a way that I would find responsible. Like, it's just like this kid falls in love with his teacher, and the teacher is not like, I guess is not like attracted to the child, but does a really bad job of setting boundaries. The child reminds her of her late husband who has passed away. And she's a teacher at the private school the kid goes to, and he reminds her of her late husband who also went to that private school. It's a little bit contrived, if you ask me. And the pace and overall structure of the Wes Anderson style really feels very contrived to me. Lots of things feel very forced. The specific events, the sort of B plot where this guy's friend finds out that the protagonist, before he fell for this teacher, had a thing for this friend's mom and then lied to someone else about having sexual relations with the mom, and then the kid's like now mad at the protagonist about that. And it's like a lot of it feels very forced, and overall it's just I can't really vibe with Wes Anderson because he really puts too much of himself in it or something, or it's like it feels like it's more about vibes than about other good qualities. And a scene will go a specific way because it feels aesthetically interesting. It reminds me of how like people make movies when they're like teenagers or something. I get that this is an early movie for him. I think he's improved a lot, but and just story wise, like, so the other part of this love triangle, because the teacher does a bad job. Like, she doesn't maintain boundaries with the kid. It's like, it's not okay. There's numerous examples in the movie where she does things that are completely unacceptable, even though she's not technically, like, I guess, attracted to the kid in any sort of sexual way. She's still, that doesn't matter. She can still do things horribly wrong. So I just don't care about anyone really in the movie. Like, I cared about the friend who the protagonist liked his mom. The friend was kind of like slightly captivating in a way, and there were a few other interesting characters. And I do like the aesthetic. I just have to criticize the whole reliance on the aesthetic over, I don't know, like other good values in writing, like just like nuanced development. Everything's so rushed. But my friends like that, and people like that, so I know. That's the Wes Anderson vibe, everything being extremely rushed. It's just like when you can't believe why a character would react the way they would, it takes me out of it. It takes me out of it. So, like, why really? He reminds her of her dead husband that much, like, that she loses all ability to, like, have boundaries with a student who, like, breaks into her apartment, and then she, like, after knowing he has a crush on her, she's like taking care of his little bumped head or something, and like letting herself be like right on top of him or something. It's like, what are you doing? And then she's like talking about sex. She's like, what do you think would happen between us? Which is like a good point. But then she has to say like sexual things explicitly to him. That is not okay. So I just hate everyone in the movie, including Bill Murray. Like, Bill Murray's character, he's fucking, everything happens so quickly. He falls for this teacher too, and then he's like, but he's also like a mentor to the protagonist, but he's falling for the same teacher, and then he hooks up with her, I guess. And then he gets a divorce, and like, why should I care? Why should I care about him? I couldn't help thinking, it's kind of interesting the way Wes Anderson relies on the star power of his actors. I mean, you could say, hey, well, doesn't Better Call Saul rely on Bob Odenkirk's star power? Didn't Breaking Bad rely on, Bryan Cranston and Bob Odenkirk and, Anna Gunn and all kinds of other people's star power? But no, I mean, I don't think it's to the same degree, honestly. I think there are probably nuances of that. But I do think it's just kind of interesting. Like, if that was played by someone else besides Bill Murray, would people kind of realize how stupid the movie is? Okay, I don't know. Anyways, let me know. Write in. Tell me what you think. Let's do a quick mid-podcast checking of the email, because no one writes in, so maybe if I start checking it earlier when more people are listening, I'll get more people writing in. So you can write into verbaljournalpodcast@gmail.com and be the first person in a almost 2 months to write in. So that is the opportunity you can have. No pressure. I don't need it. I'm fucking fine. I was, sometimes I'll rewatch or re-listen to parts of my videos. I was listening to part 6, The Artist's Journey. Hold on, let me have some water. Did you watch that one, The Artist's Journey? So I like that one historically. I like that one. I think it's really interesting. It's like a very unique perspective, and I really doubt anyone's done that before. But I watched it, like looked at, that show, or even doing that to any show is kind of interesting. So I thought it was cool. But, I took like basically a stray thought that I had. Oh, he's kind of like shown doing a lot of art. And then I just ran with it. So it's kind of cool. But I will say now, after rewatching a bunch of it, the writing did have like some flaws. Like it was kind of disjointed at a few parts. Like I think like 3 minutes in, it like goes off on some tangent without making it clear that it's going off on a tangent. I found it really confusing, and I would definitely edit other things in the script just structurally, like how it sort of flowed. But it is kind of a crazy topic, so I do like that it's a wild script. But yeah, I definitely felt like, whoa, that was disjointed. Like I would change that, So, one thing I wanted to say regarding Better Call Saul and stuff, the wolves and the sheep thing I talk about, wolves and sheep. I was watching some YouTube video that talked about this mentality basically without using the wolves and the sheep metaphor. And they called it meta-normative nihilism. So, oh, sorry, I just bumped the mic. Meta-normative nihilism is like the idea that like it doesn't really matter. Oh, I guess it's called moral nihilism too, or that's what comes up on it's just the idea that nothing is moral or immoral. Yeah. And all that matters is power. So meta-normative nihilism. So, maybe it would have been good to be like, this is called meta-normative nihilism, but it's probably really good that I didn't know that phrase when I did the video, or else I would have had to talk about it. Okay, I found this cool website, findoldvideo.com, where it just is an interface to search for old YouTube videos. You search by year and term, and it takes you to YouTube. It just plugs in an algorithm. Genius. So I'll do like 2006 Animal Collective, a band I like. So let's see, videos uploaded in 2006. Then I just go to YouTube, and now it's, because, who knows those search terms, how to exactly do it. But then I see now 17-year-old videos of this band I like performing live. Holy shit. Oh my God. We Tigers, this is dope. Findoldvideo.com. This is sponsored by Find Old Video. They gave me 10 grand to mention their site on this podcast. They gave me 10,000 US dollars. New segment replacing the sports desk segment, because obviously we did not talk about sports today. So to replace the sports desk segment, we have a new segment called the Grinds My Gears segment. This is the Grinds My Gears segment. First up on the Grinds My Gears segment, you know what really grinds my gears? And that means sort of rubs me the wrong way. It's something I don't like. This is something you see all the time on social media platforms like Reddit and Twitter especially. I saw it so often when I used to use Reddit a lot. And you see it on Twitter a significant amount too, or you used to, when like Twitter sort of had normal functionality rather than just being like a breeding ground for hate speech. But these posts on social media platforms saying this, okay, like on Reddit, it says like, this is why I'm never leaving Reddit. And then it's just a picture of an interaction, like that's funny or something. Or Twitter, like, this is why I'm never getting off this hell site. I hate those posts. They really grind my gears because I guarantee many of them are sponsored by the website. That's a good, like, that's just advertising. That's just internal advertising. And sometimes they're funny and it's like, yeah, this is why I use the website, but it's like, no, it's not worth it. Okay. So I was looking up shrinking to look up the show, and I found a news article from The Guardian that says, I can pay my council tax, that's in quotes, the ever-shrinking world of TV prize money. So apparently TV prize money is shrinking. This is a news article from a few weeks ago. Yeah. Huh. Wow. So I guess prize money is going down. Let's see some of the stats. It's taking a long time to get to the stats. You know, you might just want to just say how much it's changed. I don't need all these separate anecdotes. Just tell me like the general stats, right? Like I don't. Why not just say the? Sorry, I'm just okay. Not only has the cost of living increased in the last 2 decades, prize money has often simultaneously decreased. Most famously when the then 8-year-old Channel 4 quiz, The £1,000,000 Drop, downgraded to the £100,000 Drop in 2018. That's hilarious. Did they rename the show? That's so funny. When Survivor debuted in 2001, its prize money was also £1 million. When it returned to screen in 2023, it had also been slashed to 1/10 of its original offering. Okay. Even winnings that have stayed the same have arguably decreased, though Britain's Got Talent winners have received a whopping $250,000 each since 2013. Inflation means that the prize money would have to be increased to $330,000 to be of equal value today. And that's just in the last 10 fucking years. Holy shit, inflation is that much in the last 10 years. From $250 to $330. Wow. That's, so that is an interesting look into the economy. Obviously, this applies to all of our jobs. You know, our wages go up extremely slowly if they go up at all, and our cost of living goes up much quicker. And that is how we get robbed slowly by the people who own all the resources and maintain the ability to loan out their money and receive interest repayments rather than borrowing money and making interest payments. Yeah. So I'm kind of like lisping. I have more than usual. I have coffee and I'm like, yeah. So that's what came up when I looked up shrinking. So that was funny. So I was talking to Simply Snaps on Discord, and she sent me a video, or she recommended a video called Steamed Hams, but Chalmers Isn't Chalmers, because I was talking about steamed hams last time, and really wild steamed hams versions where people edited that famous Simpsons scene into the most nutso ways, like organizing every single frame by pitch or volume. So let me look at this one Snaps mentioned, and I'm going to consider this writing into the podcast. You know, I haven't gotten people writing in for a while, so nowadays I'm just going to consider anyone talking to me basically writing into the podcast. I'm going to be like, oh, that person wrote into the podcast. You find out we just like had a conversation. Okay, so steamed hams, but Chalmers Isn't Chalmers. Okay, so I'll describe it. So we got Chalmers showing up to the Skinner's house. He's talking. Okay, it looks like it's normal until halfway through, so let's go halfway through. Oh, wait a second. Never mind. Here's where it goes off the rails. So they're sitting there talking, okay?
Upstate New York? Really? Well, I'm from Utica, and I've never heard anyone.
Okay, so the doorbell rang while Chalmers is talking, and now the doorbell's ringing while they stare at each other, open-mouthed. And it's zooming in slowly and Chalmers is talking. Oh my God, Chalmers. Oh my God, this is really good. I'm going to subscribe to this channel. Very cool editing. The sound editing is even good. I feel like I'm in like a 4-dimensional soundscape. And Chalmers is in a black and white world. He's entering a room potentially, or oh my gosh. Oh, the hams caught fire in the oven.
Why is there smoke coming out of your oven, Seymour?
But that's normal. Oh. Wow, yeah, no, I'm terrified. Wow, so everything's kind of freaking out. You can imagine like a bad trip, but you're like in the world of The Simpsons, and it smells like steamed ham. Oh my God, and the house is burning, sort of like the end of season 3 on Better Call Saul. There's like an outside shot. Wow. Better Call Saul reference. Thank you, Snaps. Okay. Next up, climate defense. So news and climate protesting. Protesters shut down Greg Gianforte, the coal-loving, climate-denying governor of Montana. They mentioned his 4 children by name. They went to this, public thing he did, and they stood up and they asked him if he's going to try to make the world livable for his children and children like his children. And they did a great job. They brought signs that say, "Save Adam, save Rachel," names of his kids. They stayed very calm. They said they're concerned about his lack of action. And they stood up there and they got these photos with the coal-loving, climate-denying governor of Montana. They got photos where they're standing right behind him with banners that say "Save" and then the name of his kids. And they're staying very calm, and they're not throwing soup because people hate when they throw soup. I guess it's interesting to sort of ask, like, does the good value from that come in any way in regards to the effect on the governor himself, or is it mostly for the appearance to the world? And I don't know. I assume it's just for the appearance to the world because you can't really count on convincing someone. He's thinking, no, my kids are going to be pretty good, thanks. I'm leaving them a lot of money. So I would imagine that's how he rationalizes it. Yeah, I mean, it's people need to rewire their brains to think about their responsibility to the collective whole and not just to their own self and their family and only caring about your family, like Walter in Breaking Bad, is not altruistic. It reveals a selfishness underneath everything. It makes the love itself for your family selfish. I almost feel like I've thought of this before. It's like if you don't love everyone to a certain degree, you don't have to love everyone equally, but like you have to be able to love generally. I feel like you can't, if you're only able and willing to love people who are like directly connected to you, it just seems, I don't know, it just seems inherently selfish. It seems like different than the love. I don't know, love can mean a lot of different things. And I guess to me, that's just not as meaningful, love, as like the love that you can have for the people you're connected to when you're also able to love other people. That's the best. Doesn't mean you have to love everyone equally. It just means you have to be capable of loving people who you don't have like a stake in. I don't know how else to put it. Like you have like you're like invested in your family and friends. Like their existence matters to whether you can meet your wants and needs. And so caring about them is not inherently selfish. That's not what I'm trying to say. But if you're only able to care about them, then the care you have for them is more selfish, is what I mean. Yeah, not that the love you have for the people close to you is inherently selfish, but you have to be able to love people that you're, I don't know, just to like treat people with love and general like positive regard, even when you don't have any like direct stake in their life. I don't know. I guess I'm just rambling, but that's what this podcast is for. Okay. So next on the agenda, just like I was talking about politics a little bit, climate defense. Speaking of politics, I watched a interview. Taylor Lorenz, a very well-known journalist who, has written about a lot of things, but especially things related to the internet and content creators and how sort of platforms and people intersect with social issues and stuff like that. And she interviewed the Libs of TikTok lady, the lady who runs the Libs of TikTok account. That's a well-known account that posts about issues related to, usually LGBTQ issues, but also other types of issues, but from a very sort of misinformed perspective, and often spreading misinformation knowingly or unknowingly. I'm not sure. Probably a mixture. But this was a very interesting encounter because they've basically been mortal enemies. I don't think Taylor Lorenz would say that Libs of TikTok lady is her enemy, but they've had a long history where Taylor Lorenz wrote about this Libs of TikTok person, and then I think revealed her name and maybe like where she lived generally, but not like her address or anything. But she was already a public figure at that time. But anyway, so that sort of kicked off this whole relationship. And then Taylor Lorenz is probably one of the most commonly harassed people on the internet. She deals with an absurd amount of hate and vitriol from people who need to spend their time more productively. And so a lot of that has been fueled, I think, by Libs of TikTok lady and other related people posting about Taylor Lorenz in sort of, I guess, revenge. And so they've had this long sort of relationship for, I think, years at this point. And I don't believe they've ever done an actual in-person interview, is maybe since that first one. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. But they did a fucking full hour like interview, and Taylor, oh my God, she came off so good. She just got to ask all these great questions and open up the Libs of TikTok lady like an open book. And it was really delightful to see. You know, I love a good line of questioning. There were certainly things I would have done differently at a few points, but you cannot be a perfectionist about stuff like this. So Taylor Lorenz just did an outstanding job really excavating the ideological underpinnings or lack of underpinnings. At one point, the Libs of TikTok lady says that there are no genders. So she's known for her for making posts online that lead or are correlated with harassment against non-public figures and just regular individuals to a degree that's unbelievably correlated. So it's horrifying what this woman does with her platform, the Libs of TikTok lady. So it was really fantastic to see someone, especially someone that she had targeted online before, take her to task. And Taylor Lorenz did a fantastic job of that. But yeah, the Libs of TikTok lady said there are no genders. She said there are two sexes thing. But instead of saying that, which is not true, and I wish Taylor Lorenz pushed back, but for some reason she didn't say this, but like there are so many examples in nature where animals change sexes. There are many examples where animals change sexes. I could look them up if you want, but they're just like, look them up. Like animals changing sexes. It happens. Look, the first thing to come up, 11 animals that change their sex. Like there's many different animals that change their sex. It's not like pop science too. You can like look at it in real scientific journals. So sexes, and then there are intersex humans and there are intersex animals, and there are different types of intersex, I believe. And yeah, of course, there are many different combinations of intersex, different types of combinations of qualities someone could have or not have. So to me, the argument for what conservative people would say are like woke ideologies of gender or whatever are purely biological. Like there's a purely biological argument to understanding the experience of trans people. Like it's not the same. It's not the same as a fucking lizard changing their sex because like there are not enough mates around or something. But it's precedent. It's precedent that animals change their sex if the situation calls for it. And so like, or if they want to some degree, So, Taylor Lorenz didn't really fully explore why the Libs of TikTok lady justifies, justifies her specific manifestation of the extremely stereotypical and common sort of understanding of conservative sex, dynamics. But I got to tell you, holy shit, there were so many good questions in there. And it was just posted yesterday. I was like, I watched the entire thing. I stopped what I was doing. I did absolutely nothing. I stood at my computer and just watched the entire thing. Okay, so what do we got? Okay, let's do the chess segment, then we'll get the fuck out of here. Okay, so the chess segment, I've been following Hans Niemann's, not following, I've been looking at Hans Niemann's YouTube videos. So this is the kid that sued, all these people in the chess world, and he was accused of cheating. He admitted it, then took it back, barely admitted it anyways when he did admit. He's kind of, and now he hasn't really gone in the right direction still, but he's doing this daily vlog to being world champion of chess, which is insane. Like, not clinically insane because it's good content, but it's like a huge undertaking. Okay, it's a huge undertaking. That's a remarkable thing. He is a high-rated grandmaster, but he's not in immediate contention for a world championship. Like, he's not in this year's candidates. He's not even close. I mean, he's really not even close to being in this year's candidates. And so, like, the odds of him getting into next year's candidates, I'm sorry, next year? 2 years. It would be 2 years, right? The next candidates is 2 years away. Right? Is it every 2 years? Yeah, I think so. So he's going to have to give up on this. But anyways, it's good content. I like reading his comments because he has sort of built a cult following through his sort of hinged behavior. Like, he was recently banned from the biggest chess club in the US for 2024 because it came out that he had destroyed a hotel room in 2023 after a loss. And when you stay in hotel rooms with major chess tournaments, you are affiliated with the tournament and your behavior reflects on them. And Hans Niemann basically didn't take accountability for it, downplayed the whole thing. And so it's really interesting because the people now that have stuck around with him are interesting. Some of them don't support him. He gets a lot of critical comments too, but he gets a lot of supportive comments, way more supportive comments than not supportive. So I'm going to read some of his comments that I found. So on day 22's video, someone commented, Bobby Fischer. Hans Niemann really likes Bobby Fischer and talks about him all the time. A chess player who stopped his career extremely early because of severe mental health issues and is known for developing conspiratorial beliefs about the entire world being out to get him and having sort of, delusions of grandeur and other delusions. So this commenter said, which I'm saying all that to say, choose your role models well, and selectively. And maybe you can aspire to parts of Bobby Fischer, but probably not wholeheartedly. Anyways, this person comments, Fischer worked out his forearms every day so he could crush Spassky when he shook his hand. The famous Russian that Fischer played in the World Championship in 1963 or whatever year. And Hans Niemann responded to that commenter and said, smart. So he likes that idea of crushing his opponent, of working out just so he can physically hurt his opponents when he shakes their hand. I've mentioned how Hans Niemann hearts a lot of his comments. He hearts a lot of them. I don't mean to say there's anything wrong with that. I just think there's a certain degree of it is kind of a lot. But regarding creators hearting comments, I found another creator that hearts even more comments than Hans Niemann. Almost every comment. And even hearts comments that are purely critical, explicitly critical, hearts them and then responds with equally harsh critical response. So it's someone commenting this is a horrible video, and this content creator hearting it and then responding, oh, I think you're actually completely wrong about that. Actually, more in-depth stuff, purely harsh criticism, but with a heart in there. Very funny. Okay, anyways, on the day 25 video, I saw a lot of really interesting comments. This is the video, the most recent one, posted 17 hours ago. This is I don't know. He's probably posted another one right after a loss, but I haven't seen it. This was posted after a loss. It's only 2 minutes long, and the day 24 was only 3 minutes long. So yeah, he's having a hard time holding it up. When he started off, they were 25 minutes long. No, I'm sorry. My bad. 6 minutes, 9 minutes, 17, 24, 14, 20, 39, 13. So that's cool. I mean, I respect that. That's what I do with the pod. Do whatever you want. But so this was after a loss. So multiple commenters, I was talking about transference, people really feeling for him and projecting onto him and stuff. But multiple people say they can see the pain in his eyes, so people are really feeling for him, having empathy. Some people saying keep your head up, and then there's this one tough guy commenter saying get up, Hans, no excuses. So that's transference, like they're talking to him the way he's projecting wanting to be talked about, the way they feel that probably they've been talked to, and they're imagining that it's helped them, or maybe it has. So they're projecting it onto him, get up, Hans, no excuses. And he sort of invites that type of thing. Not that he, asks for it or hearts that comment, but it's like you can see him talking to himself that way too. Not that I watch the videos. I don't. I never watch them. I'd say 95% of the comments on this video are supportive, maybe especially because he lost, but they're saying like, don't worry, you got this, it happens. One guy says, just don't smash the whole hotel room this time. A few more references to the hotel room thing are definitely in there, but in more like lighthearted or supportive ways. Like someone said, hope you didn't break the TV or wall. Jokes aside, but please keep the composure and show the anger on the board in next game. One person says, it feels like every Neiman vid is just him resenting himself for his bad moves, saying he will learn from it, but then never does. So that's really harsh. One other really harsh one says, I had time trouble, in quotes. Then they say, your opponent was playing on 3 to 7 seconds plus increment for 10 plus moves. You had over half an hour plus increment. Insane choke and blundering so many moves in a row. Just insane. I think you need to work on your defensive play. That's such a harsh criticism. Someone says, stop apologizing and saying it's embarrassing. Who the F do you think you are? So that's probably a good point. Like if he's saying it's embarrassing, like that is a bad way. He doesn't handle loss well. So people find it hard. It's hard for people who are at all invested in him to watch him struggle with a loss and to watch him not handle it well. And it's part of the reason you shouldn't do a daily vlog for something like a huge goal like being the world champion. Like you just need to process some of that stuff privately, some of those losses sometimes. So a mixed bag of comments, and views have gone down. At first, he was breaking 30K, then breaking 20K, then breaking 10K. Now he's struggling to break 10K on these daily videos, and that's not surprising. They're very short sometimes. He's not really saying all that much. They're very improvised, and it's not the quality and production quality. I was talking about how badly mic'd one of his videos was on my last podcast, and then I stopped recording the podcast and realized I had mic'd myself poorly and clipped numerous times. I clipped way less today, so I'm improving. But yeah, he's got to work on his production value. Anyways, that's good. Should we do the screen time report before we get out of here? Do a little screen time report. So screen time report. No, we don't have to do that. But thanks so much for listening, I guess. Or, I guess you should thank me, really. So I'll pause a second while you thank me. Oh, yeah, no worries. Oh, no, totally. My pleasure. No, it was fun. I like doing this. I'm going to go eat. And, have a good rest of your day. And I'll, see you next week. Actually, I won't. I'll announce that now. I'm going to skip next week and do a 2-week break. Because I think I might be busy on Sunday next week. So if I do get a podcast out next week, it might be Monday, but I might not, and I might just skip a week. Okay, goodbye, and thank you for playing, and have a nice slice of life. Okay, goodbye. This is a podcast or something like that.